Sun come up and the breeze feels sweet. Time to put your hands down in the earth, feel the beat. Callaloo waving like it know your name. Pepper bush dancing in the morning rain. Every seed you plant is a promise you sow. Give it love, give it light, watch the blessings grow.
Welcome everyone from Seed to Harvest, the podcast where we learn how to grow our food. You know, I like that song. Can I play it again? Let me play that one again, man. If it's nice, we have to play it twice. And so let's play that again. I'm going to play it again. Listen again. Listen.
Ayo, feel the rhythm now. Sun come up and the breeze feels sweet. Time to put your hands down in the earth, feel the beat. Callaloo waving like it know your name. Pepper bush dancing in the morning rain. Every seed you plant is a promise you sow. Give it love, give it light, watch the blessings grow.
Hey, if you like that song, that's the intro song for this presentation. If you like that song, locate where your text is and put type Y in the chat. And I see the hearts going up. Chef Natalie, welcome back. And so if you like that song, I like it. That's the intro. And so welcome again I'm tempted to play it again, but I'm not going to play it again. And so welcome everyone. As I look at the list, we have One God Media on. We have Sister Carol on. We have Chris on. Welcome. Donovan, welcome. Elaine, welcome. Francine, welcome. Jennifer, welcome. Marva, welcome. Nadia, welcome. We have Marva, Nikki, welcome. Nadia, again, welcome. Paula, welcome. Sister Petal, welcome. Susie, welcome. Simone, Leroy, Brother Jack, welcome. Teresa, welcome. Thelma, welcome. And Wendy, welcome to this first episode of Planting with Dr. Kareen Brown. With Dr. Kareen Brown. You know, this is a space where we are. This is a space where we slow down, get our hands in the soil, and rediscover something that many of us have lost. Our connection to the earth, to the dirt, right? To our food, and ultimately to our health. Because when you really think about it, every meal begins with a seed. Did you know that? Every meal begins with a seed. And when we understand how that seed grows, we begin to nourish our bodies in a deeper, more meaningful way. My name is Courtney Linton, and I am your host today. And whether you are planting your first herb or windowsill growing vegetable in your backyard, or simple curious about where your food comes from, you are in the right place. And I take a note here. We're going to repost the link, and I want you to share it with someone who is home looking at things that they shouldn't be looking at. They're home swiping and not learning anything, right? So today we have a very special guest joining us. Someone you know who truly lives and teaches this lifestyle. Dr. Kareen Brown is a naturopathic doctor. And I'm going to ask her a question. An educator and a passionate advocate for natural living. She has dedicated her life to helping individuals and communities understand the powerful connection between food, lifestyle, and healing. Welcome, Dr. Brown. You're on mute.
All right. Thank you so much for actually inviting me to this program. I am literally very excited to be here, and this is absolutely one of my favorite topics to really talk about. And a lot of us might wonder, is this really your favorite topic to talk about? Yeah. So you know, gardening is like a part of me. It's my heart and soul, and it is what we do when the time is right in this part of the world, in the northern part of the world. But in the tropics where I'm from, is what people do every day. It's like, this connects us to our health, to our environment, and even our spiritual lives. And for me, it isn't just something that I studied, because this is something that I literally study. I actually grew up on a farm, from a very tender age, and I myself own a garden where I plant my own seeds, my own roots, and watch them grow. And just being able to witness that is something very powerful, just seeing life develop from a very 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 small age, and just watching seeds just manifesting itself, so that is something really powerful. Yes.
All right, thank you, Dr. Brown, and welcome. Now you're looking at a plant, dear family. Look at that plant, and I want you to tell me what it is. Put it in the chat. What kind of plant this is? Let me see who have been in touch with their fingers with the dirt. Let me see who has been in touch with the dirt. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat and tell me what kind of plant that you're looking at on the screen. Fennel, someone says fennel, someone said dill. It's between fennel and dill. I wonder what it is, Dr. Brown. What is that we are looking at?
That one is fennel. That one is
Fen-
actually fennel.
and what are some of the properties? What are some of the health benefits from this plant?
Well, this plant, a lot of people are not familiar with fennel as a plant. A lot of people might have seen it, but more people might be exposed to the seeds, or they might even see the oils. But fennel is a very powerful plant in the sense that it is very good for digestion. It's a mild plant. You could juice it and just drink it. It support the production of endorphin, that good feeling. And it is also very rich in antioxidant. So, and they also use this in the Indian culture a lot, the seeds, where if you go to an Indian restaurant, you will find that you'll see fennel seed just put on the table for people to chew on after they eat, as to support digestion, of course, but it is also good for cleansing. So fennel is a mild when babies are born. This is kind of like a good thing to use for baby that is griping, and having stomach ache. It's also a very good. So it's renowned for that, that benefit.
All right, thank you. This is a gardening class. It's not a medical knowing benefits. So you got extras, and because you got extras just now, I want you to start share that link. Sister Mary, help me out. Sister Natalie, just copy that link, tech team, and just repost it in the chat. So let's continue. Oh, we lost Dr. Brown there. Well, I'm going to ask a question anyway. So I think you answer partially part of this question. Why should we listen to you? Yeah. Why should we listen to you?
Oh man, I could rightfully say, or pick up from where I left off earlier, where I say that I've been doing this from I was a child, and as I get older, the passion of actually stayed with me. Gardening is what we call it, but part of my entire life. I look forward to the days when I will just have my house will be a very small house on a big farm. That's what I want to expand it to. Now, after that stayed with me, I went to the College of Agriculture in Jamaica, which was Case at the time, and I actually did 4 years studying there, and then I went on to Texas A&M to study agricultural science. So that I have done quite. I taught agricultural science in Jamaica for about 14 years before coming into this country to work as a teacher, not teaching agricultural science, teaching science. So, it's been a journey. It's been my entire life. I continue to do gardening as I am in the United States now. So I have a garden that grows every single year. And sometimes I don't even have to do anything to my garden because one of the plants that really come back and dominate is the callaloo that we're singing about. So that's in a nutshell where it stands. And I actually, dabble in a little farming while I'm here, and when I go back to Jamaica for July in the summer months. Yes. So, in a nutshell, that kind of respond to the question. Yes.
All right. So as you see on your screen, that's a callaloo, and I have been to Dr. Brown. Call it a urban farm, right? It's very small, but you can find everything, and it's, can I say it's not organized?
Oh yes,
Let me.
my garden can get very unruly because I have a serious problem containing the callaloo that comes up on an annual basis. It just does not go away. You could put 10 layers on top of that. They're gonna come back. Right now my garden is like a dump, a garbage dump. Because all summer, all winter, my greens, my organic matter, they just go in the garden. So I gotta go out there and spend an entire day. And then after I plow the garden, everything just start growing without asking any question. And that's the problem. And when they start growing, it's very difficult to pull them out and say, I'm destroying this life. And I just gotta find space for them. And when they start really growing, they take over. It's like a overpopulated world. But it's still very productive.
So when we look at nature, nature is, to us it's unorganized, but in essence they are organized. Each plant take care of each plant. They live together, not like some of us people, but they live. The tall plant does shades, but let's get into it. So my first question, Dr. Brown, so why should people care about gardening today?
Well, that's a big question. I think all of us should have some kind of response to that because there is so many reasons. Gardening gives us fresh food, and if you talk to people, you will find that anyone who actually ever plant a garden, they would tell you that when they plant something and it grows in the garden, it doesn't taste the same. So it gives us fresh, healthy food, and it helps reduce stress, and it teaches us patience. So gardening does quite a bit. But if I think one of the biggest lesson in this is the growth. It takes time for things to grow. When you plant a seed, you don't see result right away. You water it, you make sure it gets sunlight, you take care of the soil. So those are all the components. And for a while, it looks like nothing is happening, but beneath the surface, something is developing, and roots are forming. The foundation is being built, just like Christ laid the foundation for us before he created us. And that's the part a lot of people struggle with, the waiting. But because we live in a world that we want everything fast. We live in a microwave world. We want things instantly. But gardening reminds us that real lasting growth doesn't happen overnight. It requires consistency, care, and trust in the process. And honestly, that applies to every area of life, our health, our goals, even our spiritual walk. Sometimes you're doing all the right things, but you don't see immediate change. And that doesn't mean nothing is happening. And we must always bear that in mind. It just means growth is taking place where you can't see it yet. And gardening teaches us to be patient, to stay committed, and to trust. If we keep showing up and doing our part, everything will, you know, we will get result at the end of the day. Yeah.
Awesome. So thanks for sharing. So you remind me of Adam was in the garden. Well, he was not doing anything in the garden, and God took him and he turned into the second gardener, because we know that God was the first gardener. Now, question to you. Let's start simple. A lot of beginners feel overwhelmed. So here's the first question. What are the easiest vegetables or herbs for a beginner garden to grow?
Okay, so what I would recommend is that we start very simple with things that will build confidence. And we have a lot of different herbs, so we can plant something like basil. We can plant mint, parsley. These are very fresh, healthy, and very, very powerful herbs that are very forgiving. Vegetables like lettuce, spinach, and tomatoes are also beginner friendly. So we start out just planting things that can build our confidence so that we don't feel disappointing that we plant something and it doesn't grow. And those are some simple ones. Yes.
All right, thank you. And so with me, who there's no green on my fingers, that means I don't have a green thumbs. I can start with something simple. Thank you. No,
You could also do something like callaloo if you can access the seedling. Those are hardy, they are tough, and if you're in the tropics, you will see result from that. Yeah. And that will come back every year once you put it there.
so I know where to get my callaloo seeds. So I'm coming over to get some of those callaloo seeds that are not going away. So that's an encouragement. Now, another big one. How do you determine how much sunlight your space receives?
Okay, so a medium expansion. So if we were to really, really look at sunlight, it's first we got to make observation, because the observation of the area you're planning to plant is very important. So you might take a full day and pay attention to how sunlight move across your space. And you got to watch it. So whether you're doing container gardening, you're planting in a box, or whatever you're planting in, if you have a space and the space is right there, you can't move it, and it is crowded with shade, then you might need to just cut back on some of the shade trees, because that's also a problem. But in general, a plant needs 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight to grow strong and produce well. So if your space get less than that, it might affect the rate at which the plant will grow. Now, you can also choose plants that will tolerate shades. And your green leafy vegetables, they love shades. Your carrots, your beets, you can plant those. So there's no need to be in distress. You're in an area where there's not enough sunlight. Because once the sunlight comes out, it's sunlight. So you have quite a bit of vegetables that will grow very well in shaded areas. They like it when it's cooler. So that's something that you could also put in place as opposed to planting whatever randomly. You choose efficiently what you're going to plant in the area. Yes.
So far we have looked at the easiest thing to grow, and we also look at where to grow when it comes on to sunlight. No, this question is from one of the tech team, Sister Mary. Let's talk about soil, because I'm hearing that's everything. It is important. What type of soil do you have, and how does it affect plant growth?
Okay, so soil, does this remind me of my soil science class when I was going to college? Now we have the clay, which is the very heavy claddy. This type of soil is it holds a lot of water and it doesn't drain easily. So a soil like that's one soil. It stick together when it's dry, it could break anything. It's like a rock. So that is clay soil. Okay, so we have the sandy soil that drains very quickly, and we have the loam, and that is a balance between the clay and the sand. And the loam is very good. It holds moisture, but not too much like the clay. So the loamy soil is a good soil texture to plant on. And it doesn't matter what soil you have, because you can integrate organic matter. If you have a soil that is extremely sandy, you can put your organic matter in there so it doesn't drain the water too fast and it holds on to a little bit more moisture. And if you have a clay soil, you could also do the same to break those big clads of clay. So you could add the organic matter, that your compost in it, to change the texture of it or to make it more pliable for the roots of young plants. So it doesn't matter. But and those are the basic type of soils. But even more important, we have what we call texture, and texture is important, but when we think about that, the pH is also a very, very important variable that we need to take into consideration when we're planting our soil. And the same pH tester strip that we use to test our saliva, our urine, can be used to test the soil, because most plants will grow in a pH that is neutral. So that's which is about 7. Now, pH control how nutrients behave in a soil, and that's why it is important. Now, you can add compost and fertilizer and all the right things to anything that you're planting. But if the pH is off, those nutrients become locked in the soil and unavailable to the plant. And that really makes it very, very difficult. And then your plants can look stunned, start turning yellow, which is a nitrogen deficiency, or the roots are not developed, which is from potassium or phosphorus deficiency. So it is very important that we analyze the pH, and you could do that by just putting some of the soil in some water and shaking it and test the water, and that will literally give you the pH of the soil. So that is important, because we don't want to be adding compost and fertilizer. And then another thing that we also need to bear in mind, that some compost, that when we add these to the soil, it can cause the soil to be very acidic. So if you have too much organic matter in a soil, depending on what you're planted, it can make it very acidic. An acidic soil is very difficult to grow things. There are a few things like blueberries, they love soils that are acidic between 3.5 to 5.5. Most vegetables that we grow will grow in a pH of 7, 6 to 7, and herbs and greens, they thrive in a more neutral environment. So we want to be aware of the pH of the soil, because the pH determine the nutrients absorption, and nutrients absorption also implicate what we get from the plant that we put in the soil. So pH, soil type is very important when we're putting in crops in the soil.
All right, so just to expand on that, Doc, thanks. I thought you just plant it and it just grow. You don't have to worry about all of these stuff. But say, so we're here in the United States, right? And individuals might need to know, okay, what kind of soil? Because I'm going to Home Depot. Everyone I think goes to Home Depot. They don't go to the local garden store because sometimes they don't have a local garden store, and so they go to Home Depot. What kind of soil would you check? Because they have all kind of different type of soil. What is the best soil? If you were going to Home Depot, what soil would you have bought?
So they already, when you go to Home Depot and you pick up, they have what we call potting soil. And that is kind of very balanced. And if you look in the potting soil, you would see some buffers in there. They add some kind of nutrients. You'll see some little white things in there. Those are like, they put different things to balance the soil. So those soil come with the components that the plant need in order for it to grow. Predominantly, you're planting vegetables. They also have some of the some that are much stronger. So it's not just potting soil. This is like the compost itself that you put after you put it in the potting soil. So they kind of balance them out. They already did the hard work. So for people who have a little plot of land in the back of their yard and they want to plant, sometimes what they do is buy these potting soil, and either that acts as a binder or a separator. So if it's clay, when you put it in, it will separate. But if it's sandy and it will come together. So that really works. They have the compost, which is much heavier and more moisture. So they put nutrients in it, maybe, or the nutrients is already in it from the breakdown, and it's like a tea to put on the plant, so it is released when you water it, and the plant access that nutrients. Yes.
All right. So I see we have two questions. One of the question, I'll take the first. Can I say that? I take the first. So someone asks in the chat, what's the pH? And from the information, the pH depends on what are you growing. If you're growing vegetables, it should be 6.0 to 7.0. If you're growing blueberries, we prefer more acidic, which is 4.5 to 5.5. And for herbs and greens, they strive near neutral. So they're right there in the middle. All right. So you can do with information like Google, you can search and you can ask the person who you're buying the herb from. And the second question here is the person wants to be more direct when it comes on to like a brand name at Home Depot. She mentioned like Miracle-Gro. Is that a good brand to use?
Miracle-Gro is a fertilizer that you could apply to your plant, but what I always recommend is to start a little compost. Is if you want to really do organic, you start a compost heap, and all your banana peeling, planting peeling, your leaves that drop, everything. And then if you and you put them in a container and allow them to break down. And when they break down, you use those, and that is awesome. There's nothing wrong with Grower. But one of the things that happened with this the salt the synthetic fertilizer like Miracle Grow, what it does, it have a way of drying out the soil, and it have a tendency of not allowing the plant or the environment in which the plant is going to develop the right microbes. The microorganism like the gut flora, the microorganism in the soil help to really nourish the soil. So these synthetic fertilizers have a way of destroying those, which when they are destroyed, the plants, you just have to be dependent on that fertilizer consistently, because the microbes are not there to break down the organic matter that is in the soil and to aerate the soil. So, the best option is to try to use the natural stuff, and that will make a big difference. And I am not saying using the fertilizers is absolutely nothing wrong with it, because the potting soil, you have a lot, that company, they have the potting soil, Miracle Grow potting soil, they have Miracle Grow fertilizer, and then when we're doing indoor, that is also what they use. If you're doing hydroponics, if you have a tower in your house, which is quite possible, you have the water towers, the hydroponics towers that, they have those liquid fertilizer that they put in there. So there is a lot of options out there that we can use. And those it's not that anything is wrong with them, but if you're trying to grow things organically without the use of any kind of fertilizer, you can use molasses. That is something that add nutrients to the soil and also provide nourishment for the microbes. Yes.
All right, thank you for answering that. I see Sister Lisa is a avid farmer down there in Carolina. Thanks for sharing, Sister Lisa. No, I don't know if to call you Dr. Brown or Farmer Brown. Yeah, you can't call her. Can I call you Farmer Brown in this stage? I call you Farmer Brown. Farmer Brown. No, when should you start seeds indoors versus planting outdoors?
Oh, that's a great question, Courtney. This really comes down to your climate. Where are you? The type of plants you're trying to grow. So those are all the things that you would need to take into consideration, because seeds are we usually start these seeds indoor when plants need longer growing season, or when it's still too cold outside. And then sometimes the days are warm, sometimes the days are cold, and that is in the northern region in North America, or wherever you are, in North America. So it just depends. So this give them a strong, healthy head start, because sometimes after the weather change, the time is so short and they might not develop effectively. So what we normally do is just we can get any container. We have water bottles that a lot of people use, tons and tons of water bottles, and bottles of all different kind. And these bottles, you can literally cut them and actually insert whatever it is. Because sometimes, let's say you want to start a sweet potato, you can cut them and start them inside, or whatever cuttings or whatever seeds you want to grow. There are some plants that really don't like to be disturbed when you plant the seeds, like the root crops. So if you're doing carrots, it just don't like when you disrupt it. And radish, stuff like those. So those like to be planted directly into the soil. So it's really if a plant is sensitive to cold, you can is you can start it outdoors. So start it indoors before the season comes. So when the season comes, you could just transplant it. And some of them, like even if you start the carrot in a bottle, you put the seed in one of those water bottle, you have enough soil, you can just cut off the bottle from the soil and just put that with the soil attached in the ground so it doesn't feel disrupted. But starting some of them inside is very important if you're going to evade the cold, and that will destroy the delicate seedlings that are coming up. So it just depends. If you're in the tropics, you could just plant whatever you want, whatever time of the year, and it would be fine. Just that you might have the short days crop, you will have those things that you plant. But now even sorrel, the gungo peas that people used to plant, now you have those variety that grow all year round. So those are no longer, they have the varieties that doesn't respond to the length of the day anymore. So you have access to plant all year round. If you want to live and you really want to plant and eat healthy for extended period of time, the tropics is the best.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Now we have Sister Ellen question here. How do you use the molasses? And I know molasses is gonna be an expensive item. You'd have to get it directly or find inexpensive way. So the person is asking, where do you get the molasses, and do you dilute it in water?
Absolutely. So you buy the molasses and you dilute it just like you would make it for your own drinking purpose. And they can also do the same thing with the compost. You can dilute the compost, put the compost in water and mix it up, and add some molasses to that, and then you use that like a tea for the plant, and that will support the microbes and it support the plants. You support the microbe break down whatever in the soil, and it also add nutrients when its waste product is, he eats and release the waste product. The other microbes, they just break them down like the bacteria, which we cannot live without. So it's like you feed them, they take care of you. So that's how it works.
All right. Thank you for the question. So what have we looked at thus far? We have looked at when to plant, we have looked at where to plant, we have looked at how to plant, and we are going to plant now, right? And so my question to you, Dr. Brown, what are the basic tools every beginner should have?
Well, it depends on well, if you have a cutlass or a machete
Wait a minute. What is this machete family? What is she talking about? Machete and cutlass. What is that?
Any one of those.
What is it?
That's a
Is it
beginning.
a big knife?
It's a big knife, yes. Yeah. So, or you need a hand towel, your watering can, and that's like basic. People, you need a fork. If you don't have that and you have a cutlass, you could dig up, or a big knife, you dig up wherever you are. You just need basic materials to work with. Sometimes we might think we need these fancy, expensive things to plant. You could just use bottles if you don't have anything else. Cut the top of the bottle, you just have so much things that you can use. So we can do container garden, we can do vertical garden, and that's maybe a subject for a different day. However, there are so many different ways that you can grow something. That is, if you want to grow it. Yes. So I would just stick with the basics. I like to touch the soil with my hand. Some people feel they must put on a glove. I don't think so, because I want to make that contact. I want to connect. So I like to put my hand in the soil. So that's what I do. So you need the basics. And you go to Home Depot, there are a ton of tools that are there, but none of those tools are all of them is not absolutely necessary. You can substitute them for everything that you have in your house. You know, if you have a piece of land in the back of your yard and you want to fork that up, you will need a fork to do that. You know, so but you just need the basics. Yes. If you want to cut something down, you need a long machete or a knife. Yes.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. Now, on the screen, just a icebreaker. There are, what is that we're looking at? In the chat, I want you to put, what are you looking at? I'm seeing 3 clear items in the picture, right? Put it in the chat. Let me see if you need more lemon in your eyes. We see color greens, right? Is that color green, Dr. Brown?
Absolutely.
All right, what else is there? I see a flowers, something on the right hand side here from the picture with yellow and green. What is that? It's not a peppermint. Let's see if the audience know what it is. Fig? Is that I know fig. Dr. Brown, tell us what that is.
That is actually a mint. Yeah.
It crossed my mind just by the leaf, but I have not seen a mint like that with the yellow going around it.
I have variegation of mint, man, and sometimes they cross over because it's not normally green like that. It just crosses over. If you put the variety in there, it just cross over and then it, sometimes that happen in the season when you're planting. Yeah.
There is something else there that I'm seeing in the background.
In the back of this, that is also
what is that I'm seeing in the background there? Anyone see what I'm looking at? It contrasts, and it's the only thing that is different. What is that, Dr. Brown? Looks like a tomato, right?
Yes, that's a tomato.
All right, so we are still seeing properly. So let's continue the conversation on planting. If you have been learning, put it in the chat. So my question to you, Dr. Brown, how can you create a productive garden in a small space?
Okay, so that's really a great question because a lot of people are of the perception that not having space is a limitation. But sometimes you'll be surprised, to find out how much you can do with a little space. And it doesn't have to be a 10 by 10, it could be a 5 by 5 because you could go vertical. Now, a small space is really it's an opportunity. You can create a productive garden by being intentional. So that's the first thing. Start with containers, pots, buckets, and even recycle item because those are things that you're going to throw away. You could use them for the season and then recycle them. As long as you have good drainage, it doesn't matter. Choose crops that grow well in smaller space like herbs, leafy green, and even compact varieties of tomatoes, or peppers. These really grow in these small spaces. I've been to places where tomatoes are grown in a bucket, the 5-gallon buckets, and they literally come to fruition and beer peppers are grown in those buckets. And then if you don't have that, just a little 5 by 5 space, you could plant so much things because you could plant your green scallion in container going up and they are going to bear. You just do a vertical rack. So you would have a shelf and you put them on the shelf, they grow up. And then you can build a little, what do you call it? Those trails, like a wall for the trails of if you're doing cucumbers or you're doing tomatoes. The cucumbers only need a little space on the ground for it to grow up, and once you guide it in the direction, it will not crowd the garden. You put it out in on the trail, and that works. So you could plant the vegetables on the flat, on the ground itself, so you can plant tomatoes, peppers. So and as I said, vertical is also a space once the sun come out. You can build shelf and railings and all these things around for all and trellis for them to grow on. And most importantly, you maximize the light, because light is very important. You place your plants where they get the most sunlight during the day. And when you combine the right plants, the right containers, and good placement, even a balcony or a windowsill can become a thriving garden. So the space is not even that is not even a point to bring up. So we can do a whole lot with only a small amount of space, or a small space in any place, as long as we have the right ingredients. We have sunlight, we have water, proper nutrients. We can grow a lot. Yes.
Awesome, awesome. Sometimes we limit ourselves. You'll be surprised. My friend who lives in Queens, he has this wide, right? And the amount of thing, and about 2 times my height. And the amount of thing, when I go there, I'm leaving. It's like when I used to be back home, I used to go to the country and I get everything and full up the car and come home. When I go to Queens, I have tomatoes, I have cucumbers, I have callaloo, I have everything in just a small section. And I'm saying, man, your hands are green, pink, purple, all colors on your hands. And I'm saying, wow. So I know that I'm going to get my stuff anytime he's back. No, I see. Thanks for sharing. I see, Louis, we're going to take it. Make sure it's a short question. Louis, go ahead and unmute. Let me unmute you. Unmute. Go ahead. You should be able to unmute. You raise your hand. And no more hands. No more hands. Louis, go ahead if you're able to unmute. You should be able to unmute. All right, Sister Shauna, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay, go ahead, Louis.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I just wanted to add something I saw on the TV like about 3 weeks ago, Dr. Brown. Some Jamaican guy, he was showing people how to do the farming. And he had crates. The crates, the thing you would put boxes and things on, not the crate that you would put the liquors in, not that one. That wooden thing. And what he did, he had it on the fence, leaned up
Again, the theme.
against, yes. And he had what do you call it now? He would line that thing there
And
with
plant
the
in the
bags and
go
planting
down.
those little crevices there.
Yeah,
What?
awesome.
Yes, so I thought I would add that. And I think that's so easy. People with small space could just put it against your fence, and you have tomato growing up because of the photosynthesis, it would go up for the light. So like you put your tomatoes, you make holes between those little holes and put your seed in there. You should see that man's place. I was alarmed. So I thought I just had add that to what you're saying there.
Awesome, awesome.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for that question. We
It's
were
not a
watching.
question. It's an
Sorry.
addition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was I was playing that video that if my tech team can spotlight me, I was sharing that video earlier where the gentleman was planting. Thank you. No, Sister Shauna, go ahead and open your mic and share, please.
Oh, hi. What do you do if you live near a farmer who is not organic? Is there anything you can do so that your area remains organic? And can sugar be used to make things organic? The earth.
Okay, so it just depends on, if the farm is not organic, and I am sure you're alluding to the use of extensive fertilizer and pesticides and actually gramoxone and weed killers like those. I think that's what you're referring to, right? And then sometimes they are planting, crops that it just depends on what they're planting. If you plant something that is similar, you're going to have cross-pollination with those things. So what you would need to do, you would have to, I don't know if your house is surrounded by the farm or the farm is on one side of side of your house that is close to the farm. I'm not sure how the structure and the location, but you could always orientate away from as much as you can from where that farm is, and you could choose to do crops that is not going to overlap or crossover, or you're going to have cross pollination, from that farm to your farm. And all I can say is that you could do the best you can. You can build areas that kind of block things out. Some people use greenhouses. I don't know, that might be an expensive, venture, but you could create greenhouses or right, kind of surround your plant. Find a blocker that surround it so that you're still going to have drift, but you can reduce that from full-blown drift that will come across into your area. So that's something that I could say, that will help. I don't know. I've never really explore using sugar because sugar is not very nutritious. It just have glucose. It doesn't make things organic. Sugar is just glucose and it doesn't really convert or change to anything. And you normally use sugar and water to feed aphids that are breaking and destroying your plants. So if you put some sugar or mix some sugar with water and pour it at a root that is contaminated with aphids, then you're going to find that the aphids will feed on the sugar instead of on your plants. Yes, so I think I did answer all of your questions to the best of my knowledge. Yeah.
So Dr. Brown, just to add, I know you can plant certain trees that, like, I know one of my coworker, before he does any planting on the perimeter of his property, he plants certain trees or plants that grows together, grows tall, and blocks out, make like a herbal wall around the property. Perhaps you can do that also, to limit airflow. I'm not sure if it's going to limit like when the chemical goes into the soil, and that might leak over the pesticide and all that stuff. But I'm sure that's not a new question. Somebody already did it, and they can share with you what they did. All right, thanks for that question, and thank you for responding, Dr. Brown. I'm looking at Chef Natalie, and Chef Natalie, sometimes people just show off. She said that my mom has soursop tree, pawpaw tree, thyme, leaf of life, sweet potato, ginger, lemongrass, dragon fruit, callaloo, all in bucket. Can you imagine that the soursop tree is in a bucket? She has no soil in her yard, concrete, only concrete, and so that we mean we don't have no excuse. This young lady, has no soil, only concrete, but she's able to plant. So we have no excuse. All right, let's go on. Let's move on, Dr. Brown. I see we're on the hour. We're going to beg you some more time. Let's move on. All right. How do you avoid overwatering or underwatering?
Well, the best way to do that is to stick your fingers in the soil. That's the best way. You got to put your pure hand in the soil and test the level of moisture. Sometimes we overwater and we drown the plants. So all you got to do is just put your finger in and see if it's dry to where your finger can reach. It's just like an inch down, and if it's dry to that point, you water. And if you have moisture, you just don't water. Yeah, that's basically what it's as simple as that.
Awesome. No, we spoke about fertilizer, and when we hear about fertilizer, we hear chemicals, right? Now, what natural fertilizer can we use instead of chemicals? Just before you answer, in nature, we don't see any fertilizer, anybody walking up and down in the forest fertilizing anything, right? I don't remember seeing someone get up in the middle of the night, hiding, and then putting fertilizer on the plant. How does that plant survive? But coming back to the first question, is there any natural fertilizer?
Okay, so that's a really great question because what you put into your soil really matters just as much as what you put into your body matters. Okay, so the most powerful natural fertilizer is compost. And somebody might ask, what is compost? And compost is all the materials that you use, the waste from what you use as foods. Okay, so you peel your bananas, you peel your plantings, you peel your yam, whatever you use, you peel your oranges, you peel whatever peelings and things that you choose not to eat because not like they can't be eaten. Now, you're going to put those down and you allow them to break down by whatever means. And when you break them, when they are broken down, they sometimes have more nutrients than the part that you eat. So it's rich in nutrients and it help build healthy living soil. And living soil is very critical for plant growth. And this does not happen overnight. This also takes time. It really takes time. So it doesn't happen overnight. So you can also use the compost tea that I mentioned earlier, which is a liquid version that the plant will absorb much richer and more quicker so that it boosts the growth of the plant. And we can also use aged manure, and that's manure if you can access that. If you have people will get it from the down from their cows, the goats or whatever. But this must be aged or broken down. It's very important that the CN ratio, the carbon nitrogen ratio, is reached because if you put this compost or broken manure in your plants before it's broken down, you're going to find that you're going to end up with this will burn the crops because you also have zero access. The plants doesn't have access to nutrients, and it will cause the plants it will burn the crops, and the microbes that are working on the compost is going to destroy the roots of your plant as well. So it needs to be broken down, and what you get when it's broken down, it's the dead organism that feed on the soil, their waste matter after eating it out. That's what you really get as the broken down manure or compost for that matter. And that is rich and full of nutrients. So that is also another option if you can access that. If you're growing, of course, your plant inside your house, that is not exactly an option for you. You could also use plant-based option like seaweeds or kelp extracts. These are excellent source of minerals for your plant as well because they provide trace minerals that support strong resilience in plant growth. Okay, and we can also do something simple as far back as when I was a child. My parents used to crush eggshells for calcium, and we could also use banana peels that also provide excellent. Even a ripe banana, you can put it in the water, allow it to break down, or just allow it to soak in the water, and you will it extract the potassium that is in it, and it also give a strong natural boost to the plant. So there are many different options for the natural, and for those people who are not can't access any of these. You don't live near the sea. You can find, hey, eggshell, you peel a banana, you put it in some water, and all your waste product, and even some of your compost that you buy, or some of your potting soil or whatever, you can just put that in some water, shake it up, and pour that on the plant. Now, the key is this natural fertilizer. Don't just feed the plant, they strengthen the entire soil system. And when your soil is healthy, your plants grow, and they grow in the way that they were intended to grow. Yes.
Awesome. I have Leaf of Life. So Dr. Natalie, it's not just you alone have Leaf of Life. I do have Leaf of Life, and I have no dirt, concrete. It's at the window. But they're not doing good. And so I peel my banana, right? Ripe banana, and I say, okay, all right, let me just put it in the blender. So I put my peeled banana in the blender. I add water to it, and I had my lemon left over, and I throw that inside here, and I just blend up everything and just throw it inside of that container. Is that good, Dr. Brown?
That is absolutely good. It's just that, in the breaking down process, you might find that you will be dealing with some flies that come out of that, so if it's indoor, so but that absolutely nothing wrong with that. You could blend stuff out, you have more surface area, and the breaking down process take place much faster.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm learning. I'm experimenting. All right. So in the chat, I see that we have Sister Black flies are what actually break down the compost. How long can I? So Sister Jennifer says, I think I saw a question before that. What do you think about? Okay, no. How do I avoid insect like flies to strive in this compost? My neighbors complain about them like last summer. So I'm thinking, if you put a plastic at the root of the compost, like seal the container, because you already have everything inside that container, and you might leave a hole and seal back that hole, and just put the trunk of the plant, you can tape around that plastic, so everything will be staying inside there, and in a sense it will ferment, and it might turn out better. What are your thoughts about that, Dr. Brown?
One of the things is that it's very difficult to get rid of the community that breaks down the organic matter, because it's flies, they lay eggs, the worms, they burrow into so it's like a whole community of people that serves their purpose. I mean, you can have the breakdown process if you have it in a contained area, but if it's too contained, I mean, it will break down, but it's going to break down in a different way, because if it gets too hot and steamy, you're not going to have too much worms in there. It's just going to be like a slush after the breakdown process, because the conditions need to be ideal for the bugs, because it's not just flies. You have bugs, you have worms, you have the dungle bugs that go in and they burrow, they eat, and they have children, and they make a whole family, and a whole generation of them exist inside of a compost for the time that they last, and then they die out. Sometimes the generation, the father, the grandparents, and the grandmothers, and the mothers, some of them die out. They don't make it, and this is what goes into the soil that forms a part of the nutrients. So they make a whole home, a whole generation of them live there, and then some of them just die and make up what it is. So if you have the manure from whatever animal, one of the things that might be good is to, I don't know, it's kind of hard, and it just depends on how much you have. Because if you have a whole lot, it's going to harbor a lot of flies, because that's part of the community that works on breaking it down. Yeah.
So Dr. Brown, all these people are living in my kitchen or in my sink or wherever they are living, right? All grandfather, grandmother, grandsister, brother, uncle, niece, nephew, the dog living in that environment. No, if I get something else to kill or eat the fly, what else can I put there that will eat the flies?
Okay, so there are things that eat flies. So we have frogs, we
No
have
frogs, no frogs.
we have spiders. I mean,
Perhaps spiders, yes.
you gotta keep a spider in your house, you know. So it's like if you have the spiders, they eat the mosquitoes, and there's a food chain going on out there, but it just depends on what you want in your house, you know, and what your goals are. Because you want the compost or the manure to break down. And if you want it to break down and you get something to eat out all the flies, you know, what's gonna happen? You know, it's like there was a time when they brought the mongoose from one country to Jamaica or the Caribbean to get rid of the rats that was eating down the sugar cane. And then the mongoose eat out all the rats, and then they start eating the sugar cane, and then they take over and they're the ones. So well, we have to choose what we want. So there is a food chain that goes out there in the community of the transfer of energy and the transfer of energy from one to the other, but the process goes on. You know, God designed it that way. So, because there's no other way for these to break down, you know, because the ammonia content in any kind of manure is very high, and you can't use it like that. And if it becomes a slush and it's not broken down, you're not going to get the result that you're looking for. Yeah, it's only got, if you leave it there, the rain is gonna beat on it, and if nothing is catching it, no life is in it, then it's just gonna be manure that's beaten out by the rain, wash out, and eventually the what do you call it? The elements of the weather, the rain and the sun, you know, will kind of soften it up over a period of time. Yeah.
All right. So thank you for answering that. So I think it might be easier for we stick with the flies, right? We're gonna stick with the fly. We're not moving from the fly. Now, what you're looking at. So my friend who I told you that he has that short distance from top to bottom, that's all he has in his backyard, and it goes along his back fence. And so he was able to grow all of these stuff that you're looking at. I sent him a WhatsApp, and he sent me these. This is what he has in his backyard, right there against the fence. You see what he has,
Sweet.
right? Oh, you see that? Oh, beautiful is that,
Oh
right? So the bit of that, Dr. Brown, that's because he has grass and he's not giving up the grass, right? And so he has that back section for that food, and you look at it. Oh, isn't those what's that? What color what's that? Cabbage, right?
That looks
Purple
like, yeah,
cabbage, right?
yeah, it looks awesome.
Look at that. He has everything in that small section. Pumpkin. Look at that. Callaloo. Everything is right there. Oh, isn't that beautiful?
Yeah,
Oh, he loves those. Those are cayenne pepper, right?
it's same
Okay.
family. Mm-hmm.
Those are one of those dangerous pepper. You know, they have like the ghost pepper that will burn everything out. And so this is his little area. So this container there, look how beautiful, colorful that is. That's what he gets in his backyard.
That's your takeaway. Oh my
So that means
Thanks a lot. Sweet
we
potato.
he
Wow,
has corn up there,
my
right?
goodness.
And so what am I saying? We have no excuse whatsoever. I want you to, until we do the next program, I want you to make sure that you start something, even to get a container and put some dirt in it, right? Even to get a container and put some dirt with it. All right, we know we need part 2, so let me ask, and I see all the questions in the chat. I saw your question, Donovan. Now let me just answer Donovan. I'll allow you to answer Donovan. He's asking, only raw waste or cooked food waste. So he's wondering into the compost what is best, or anything that is waste except plastic, pan, glass, artificial waste.
Yes, so I mean, any kind of waste, as you know, the ones that are decomposable within the time frame, because you don't break down plastic on it. You could even put cardboards in there as long as you can break it down because it add buffer. It just not really, maybe you might not get a lot of nutrients, but it's like a buffer and it does help to hold moisture in the soil. So those are usable. You break them up and when you're trying to do it, especially when the time gets really hot, you have to keep adding moisture to it so that the moisture can, work, the organism in it can work to break it down. Yes, so it's just all organic waste. Your chicken bone, for those people who chicken, fish bone, all of those things. You can grind them up, whatever you cook, and it's good. It all goes back in the soil and adds some kind of nutrients. Yes. You just have to learn to contain it so that it doesn't, depend on where you are. You can get a good drum, like one of those barrel, and you can put it in there, but you got to bore holes at the bottom just to make sure, that it's aerated and drained. Some people don't bore the hole, they allow the water to stay, but they leave it open so that it can evaporate. Yeah. You're on mute, Courtney.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. So we are at a crossroad here because I see the chat. Sister Marie, tech team, we need your help here. I want you to go over into the gardening group. We have a garden group. I want you to go over there, capture the link, and we're going to drop it here. And so you can join, because all these questions, we can do follow-up answer to these questions, because we are not there yet. So we're going to have to do a part 2 and maybe a part 3 or 4. But let's ask a few more questions. We're going to close up in a few. Question: what are the most common pests? I think we touched it, but let's expand more on it. What are some of the common pests, and how can we manage them naturally?
Okay, so pests have been with us from the beginning of sin, and they will continue to be with us. And some of the most common pests that we actually deal with in our garden, we have to deal with things like aphids, white flies. So when you plant your cabbage, you're going to see these white flies. And if you don't know how to deal with them, the white flies are going to stay. They eat your cabbage. Every fold that you fold, you're going to see their marks on it. They eat out the cabbage. And then you have caterpillars, you have slugs. You also have some mottlings that we see on the plant itself, and these are from microbes that might be in the air. Sometimes you plant your tomato and the leaves just shrivel up, and it's not opening up for the surface area for photosynthesis. And tomatoes and sweet peppers or peppers are from the same family. They are Solanaceae as well as Irish potato. So if you choose and you plant all of those and you start having an invasion from a microbe, then what is going to happen? All the leaves of all of those will shrivel up. But those are the common pests that we might see in most of the garden. There might be others, but the common one that likes to eat down our vegetables are those. So pests usually show up in our garden when we have some kind of imbalance. So instead of trying to eliminate them, we can focus on restoring balance in the garden. You can manage them naturally in a few simple ways. So you can spray with garlic and a mild soap, and soap is like a sticker. You can use the sticker for the soap, or water can help control soft-bodied insect like aphids. You can use neem oil. You can use You can use vinegar as another option to get rid of the pests that might implicate your garden. So those are some of the things that you can do. You could also plant insect repellent plant. You can intercrop your scallion, your onions. You can use marigold inside of your field. So those are repellent and they help to ward off the pests that might invade your garden.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Brown. You know, it's a lot of information. I will be sharing the what you call that thing, the text. I will sharing text, the information in a text form in the chat. And please remember, the chat that we have there is not to post anything else. It's for question on gardening. Right? It is not to post, so hi, good morning. No, happy birthday, no. If you do so, we will delete it. All right? And so it's a safe environment for planting. If you have any questions on planting, that's where you go. So I'm going to ask the last question, and whatever other questions that we might have, we either going to keep it until the next presentation or we are going to answer them and put it in the chat. No. Which plant grows well together? How do you get and they don't fight each other, right? You're muted.
Oh, okay, thanks. Thank you. Okay, some plants grow well together because they help deter pests. That is what we allude to earlier when we talk about the marigold, the scallions, the rosemary, the stronger flavor, and they improve and they enhance the balance and flavor. So for example, tomato and basil are classic. They pair well together and can repel certain insect, and that's for the insect repellent. So we have another carrot combination. We can do carrots and onions. They are both underground and they do work well together to protect the carrot and the onion. It's a insect repellent. So these are two companion. And someone said marigold did not work. Marigold work to a certain extent, but if it's not working, then the pairing might not be the best option. Marigold might not be the one that worked for whatever you plant it with. And we know beans are nitrogen fixing plant. So when we plant beans of any kind, what it does is fix nitrogen, which is what is captured from the lightning that flash. So they have a nodule on their roots that fix the nitrogen in the soil. And when we plant the beans, it helps to replenish nitrogen in the soil, which plants will benefit from. So you can, if you want to plant corn, it would be good to plant beans with corn. So when you plant your garden, think of it as a community. Each plant has a role, and when they are intentionally placed together, what you'll find, they help each other to thrive. And that's the beauty about working with nature. Everything is really connected. So we want to really strategically think about what we're planting, when we're planting, and how we're planting.
All right. So I see we have a few questions, so we're just going to run through it, right? My question is, next question, how do you harvest and store rainwater?
Oh, yes, and absolutely. Rainwater is the best for plants. The water from the faucet, it doesn't work as good. If you ever notice, you'll be watering forever when it's a drought, and then you have a shower of rain that comes down and it looks like there is an instant growth. It's like the plant just stand up and it just grow inches in front of your eyes. And the best way to harvest rainwater, we could just buy a barrel of any kind and just set up a catchment area. Anywhere that water runs off the roof, you can just catch the water there, and you keep it there covered so that you don't have the growth of mosquitoes, depending on where you are. And then you use that to water your plants. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Fantastic. I know I went to Tennessee and the gentleman connect got those clear containers, and even when the place is dry, he has water running, and I'm saying, oh, he's really off the grid. Now, next question, how do you know when it's time to harvest?
This is the most exciting part of real gardening when it comes to harvesting. Yes, because that's what you go to your friend in Queens to do, to harvest. Yes. So, you, when a plant is ready to be harvested, the color, the size, and the texture, these are really basic signs that you look for. Most fruits and vegetables will develop in their full color when they are ready. Like tomatoes, they turn deep red, or peppers become very vibrant, and it looks very, it speaks to you, it tells you that I am ready, pick me. Some of them, their leaves closest to the plant will start turning yellow, so you know it's time to pick it. So their natural size is one, as I said, their color, the texture. If you're looking at leafy green vegetables, we don't want to wait until they get real hard and tough. We want to pick them when they're really green and in their best. You know what you plant, what it looks like. If you plant kale, you know what kale should look like, so you know when they're ready. They should be tender, and they shouldn't be very hard and robust, so you plant them and you reap them next spring, because kale will last and go through the winter. And another important thing is that when the plants are actually ready and reach their full maturity, you get the most out of them. So picking at the right time encourage the plant to, it gives the right nutrients. And if you pick it like green leafy vegetable early in Northeast America, you will get more growth. So like kale and colored greens and so on, if you pick them before they're old, then it gives more opportunity for them to continue producing more leaves. You get the best flavor when you pick them, and the nutrients is also just right when you pick them at the right time.
All right, thank you. So it's not just planting, but when you reap the plant, right? Now, next question, how do you maintain soil health year after year?
And as I have exhausted in earlier question, maintaining healthy soil year in, year out is about keeping the soil alive. First, you want to continuously add the organic matter to the soil. You can throw it out there, when the planting season is out. But there are some people who don't live in an area where they have continuous planting season. So it's also important to put compost in there. Whether you're gonna blend it up like Courtney just said he did, and pour it in the soil and allow it to break down out there, or add the mulch. There are people who have these machine that shred or break up the leaves of trees and create heaps of mulch. They break it down, so and it stays there and break down. So you want to feed the microorganism to make that nutrients available for the plant. You could do crop rotation. Instead of planting corn, which is a heavy feeder all year round, you could plant intercrop. You could plant corn one season and rotate the crop, plant beans, then you plant tomatoes, then you plant, you don't want to plant tomatoes and then plant sweet peppers, because both of them are, will contract the same kind of disease. So you want to rotate so that you build the microbes in the soil. So don't plant the same crops in the same spot every season, because that can deplete specific nutrients and invite disease, rotate crops, so you will have the balance. So you put your beans in, and finally disrupt the soil as little as possible, and that will definitely make a difference. So you keep it together so that it's not eroded or washed away. So that's something that you could do. Yeah.
Okay. I know. In addition, you might give it a rest.
Yes. Some that's a recommendation that you could rest the soil as well. It just depends on where you are, because we know in North America the soil is rested. Yes.
In the winter. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Final question. What simple experiments can beginners try? What can I try?
Okay, so there is a few things that you could try as a beginner, because gardening is one of the best classroom you'll ever have. Yes, so it's a classroom in itself. Beginners can start with very simple experiments. For example, you can plant the same seed in different types of soil, like sandy soil, compost soil, and observe the difference in growth. And then that would, once you do the observation, you can test the watering. You can give one plant a little more water and another some less water, and see how they respond. And when you do in your observation, and you could also test how they respond to light, full sunlight versus partial shade, and compare that compare their development. And another one is tracking growth. Measure your plants every day. So you measure the plants every day as they grow, and quickly that will give you an idea of how. So these experiments help you to understand how factors like soil, water, and sunlight affect plant growth. Okay,
Awesome.
so those are some of the things that you could run a simple experiment on. So you're not just gardening, you're learning, observing, and becoming more connected to life and grows and how things grow. So that is very important. So we could try that. That's something you could do. And then
Yes.
be actually learning what will work. Yeah.
Awesome. So, thank you. This has been an incredible, Dr. Brown. You have made garden feel exceptionally and powerful. Put it in the chat if you agree with me that you have learned a lot and you are planning to start something, and you're going to take your phone and take pictures like all my friends send the pictures to me. You are going to keep those pictures, and at the next presentation you're going to bring those pictures up where you started and the difficulties and all of the obstacles that you face, and also you're going to send me some of the reaping plant when you send. So thank you, Dr. Brown. Over there. Anything last you want to share, Dr. Brown?
Well, I just want to encourage everyone to actually do some gardening, because you will reap the benefit. It's gonna make you feel happier. At least, even if you get one container, even a water bottle or 2 water bottle, and plant something in it. Even if you go to the store and you buy those green scallion, put one in there and plant it and watch what happens. You might love it. And some of you might have some things that just start growing because it's the season to grow. And take a picture of it, share it in the chat. So we are doing this together, we're working together, and we are planting together, and we are reaping together. Yes.
Awesome.
What I'm going to encourage you to do.
Before we go, Genesis 1:29 gives us that the food must have seed in it, and if it has seed in it, then we can plant it for the next generation and not wait for the system to plant it for you. And so we're gonna close up, but before I close, I'm gonna play you a song, one of my favorite songs that was created just for this presentation. And let me just remove myself and remove Dr. Brown, and we're gonna play that
Yo,
song.
feel the rhythm now. Sun come up and the breeze feels sweet. Time to put your hands down in the earth, feel the beat. Callaloo waving like it know your name. Pepper bush dancing in the morning rain. Every seed you plant is a promise you sow. Give it love, give it light, watch the blessings grow.
Can I play it again? I'm gonna play it again, Dr. Brown. I'm gonna play it again. No, I'm gonna play it again.
Ayo, feel the rhythm now. Sun come up and the breeze feels sweet. Time to put your hands down in the earth, feel the beat. Callaloo waving like it know your name. Pepper bush dancing in the morning rain. Every seed you plant is a promise you sow. Give it love, give it light, watch the blessings grow.
Awesome, awesome. So that is our theme song. It was created just today for this platform, and I thank everyone. Thank you, Dr. Brown, for coming on, for sharing your time, for blessing us with the information that you have gathered over the years that you have been planting. And thank you all. We have 52 persons on. I want to thank you for coming. And I will share the link for this presentation when it's finalized. Any other thing that you want to share, Dr. Brown?
I think we can call it this for the day. As I said, all I'm encouraging each and everyone to do is to plant something. Make today a planting day, or just plant something inside. Sow some seeds. You cut the tomato, take the seeds out and put it in a little soil. That will grow. And try to nurture that, care for it. And if you need to change the container that you plant in it, change it. Watch it grow. Harvest something this fall. That's all I want to say.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you again for coming, Dr. Brown. And thank you again for coming, family. I'm going to play a video. Well, I'm just going to close. I think we have spent enough time. It's an hour and a half now. And so I would just want to thank you again. And I hope that this presentation was a blessing to you. This was a co-partnership with Re-Evolve Inc. and also Globe Connectors and the Combined Ministry Network. Can I say that? I did. So thank you again, and that's it for us. I'm just gonna play us out with my no favorite song, and then when that is done, we're gonna close out. All right, thank you again, and we will share the link for for everything that we need to share with you. So let me just position myself and play that music again.
Ayo, feel the rhythm now. Sun come up and the breeze feels sweet. Time to put your hands down in the earth, feel the beat. Callaloo waving like it know your name. Pepper bush dancing in the morning rain. Every seed you plant is a promise you sow. Give it love, give it light, watch the blessings grow.
So here on this farm, we dump nothing, we burn nothing. Every leaf that falls is an asset to us.
One day somebody says, why don't you make this into a business?
Basically what we're trying to show to people is that there is really no real reason not to grow. Teach people how to convert their homes and the wastelands they have into organic farms. And please, don't tell me that you don't have any place to grow. Have a look at this. Old pallets. Put a sleeve in, fill it with earth. It is a vertical farming. I have a beautiful wife. 58 years of marriage. No, you have 58 years of marriage happens all the time. But I've had